Hello and welcome to the Green Voice Podcast. I'm your host, Grant Ervin with S&B USA, and we are here at the fabulous Energy Innovation Center in one of their special spaces, which we'll learn a little bit more about here in a second. But the topic today is electric vehicles and fleet electrification and all the good stuff that goes along with it. And so I have some great friends and guests here today to help shine some light on that. But first, let's do a little quick introductions. Jess, maybe if you want to talk a little bit about who you are, and then also tell us a little bit about DLC's role there too.
Sure. So my name is Jess Mooney. I'm part of the Transportation Electrification team at Duquesne Light. If you're not familiar, Duquesne Light is our local utility here in Southwest Pennsylvania. We cover most of Allegheny County and Beaver County and have about 600,000 customers in that geographic area that's our service territory. We have a team of about 6 people just solely dedicated to transportation and electrification at our company. So it's a big priority of ours to help our commercial customers, residents transition to electric vehicles. We are in this building today. Duquesne Light helps sponsor this space, and we actually have office and research space here at this building with our Advanced Grid Solutions team, who there's a lot of synergy within this building with different kind of research arms, whether it's through the University of Pittsburgh, Penn State. And so having all of these research arms located under the same roof helps with synergy and things like that. So we're really happy to be part of this collective that makes up this building.
Terrific. Thank you. Thanks for hosting us also.
No, absolutely.
Rebecca?
Hey, Grant.
Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Yes.
My name is Kiernan. I work for an organization called Connect. We work with local governments, including and surrounding the city of Pittsburgh. We have about 47 municipalities that we work with, and the county of Allegheny. I'm the director of collaborative funding, so I focus on multi-municipal projects and getting them funded. And I'll let my colleague Eric talk a little bit more about what we do.
Awesome. Those are good handoffs.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. Yeah, so my name is Eric Raabe. I'm the Director of Infrastructure and Resilience for Connect. And so that I'm basically a project manager working on a whole bunch of sustainability projects on behalf of local governments, in the city and all throughout the county. One of those things is AVs. Mm-hmm. We help local governments, they exist to deliver services to their residents. We help them do that better. That's basically what we do. And in the case of EVs, a lot of them don't have experience in that topic area. They know that they want to provide that public amenity, whether it's charging or their own fleets. And so we started a program called Electrify Allegheny, which we'll talk about.
Definitely will that.
But yeah, that's what we do.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Rick?
Yeah, and I'm Rick Price. I'm the Executive Director of Pittsburgh Region Clean Cities. We're part of the Department of Energy's Department of Clean Cities and Communities partnership. So we've been around 29 years, and we work in the 33 counties in western Pennsylvania trying to reduce petroleum-based fuels and greenhouse gases. So we help our stakeholders and a lot of the folks here at the table in trying to find funding and or education about reduction in the fuels.
Terrific. Thank you. Thanks for those great introductions. Rick, one of the reasons it brought us together today, other than just catching up on a host of different activities, which is always fun, is that it's National Drive Electric Week coming up, right? And maybe if you can talk a little bit about that program and what it means for a group like PRCC.
Yeah, it's an annual event that has been happening for a number of years. We try to work with our local electric vehicle association and other stakeholders around the Western PA. We have done events here in Pittsburgh, Slippery Rock, State College, Erie, a number of them, and it's all about education. It's getting folks, as we call butts in the seats,
butts in
right?
the seats.
But it's just an education process. Everybody wants to try those vehicles, but they're not unsure. So when you can talk to people who actually use them, drive them, and tell you about that, that's the best way to communicate that. And this is done nationwide. So yeah, this is something that we look forward to every year.
And some of the things that you guys do, just bring the different vehicles together and the manufacturers. What's that mean for a fleet manager, equipment manager, just an individual who's interested in getting into an electric vehicle? What's that experience like for them?
Well, I think it's the personal relationship, right? I mean, when you buy vehicles, whether it's for a company or whether it's a relationship you have. But not only is that, but the education. You want the maintenance, you want the service, you want the economic factors of what's going on. So, driving those vehicles and getting out there and meeting those folks, and then getting a chance to drive. There's many models. Well over 90 models of electric vehicles out there today, and depending on whether you want it for a fleet, a municipality, or your individual use, there's a great way to do that at these events.
That's exciting. Jess, Rebecca, Eric, and Rick too, I think, one of the things that's really driving this space right now is all the conversations around federal resources and state resources that are being invested to build not just the vehicles, but the charging networks and the infrastructure that's so important to kind of make this system work, right? Can you guys shed some light on that for listeners in terms of, what are we doing in terms of attracting federal resources to the region, and what are some of the programs out there that folks should have an idea to know a little bit about? Maybe we could just start with Jess.
Sure. So the partners at the table are working on a large federal grant request as we speak. So I'll let some other folks talk about that. But I think
everybody's very complimentary and not stealing other people's stuff.
I know. This is a very collaborative approach. But I think one of the important roles that I see Duquesne Light playing is being able to provide matching dollars for a lot of these requests by leveraging our existing programs. So Duquesne Light has we call it our Make Ready program. It's our community and fleet charging program that allows us as a utility to fund, design, and install the Make Ready infrastructure from the transformer up into the charging station. And so because that bulk of the project can be covered through our program, we can then leverage that to go after these big federal dollars. And so, our program doesn't cover 100% of the costs. And so without those federal programs, state dollars, it's really hard to get these projects in the ground. I think another thing that we can provide as our transportation electrification team is a lot of technical assistance too. And even at the state level, they just recently announced their AFIG awards, and I think that's Alternative Fuel Infrastructure or Incentive Grant.
Yep.
And I was
Someone's
really
gonna
proud.
correct you if you got
They
that
will. Please do. But I was proud. Allegheny County received more awards than any other county in the state, and a lot of those projects we provide.
Take that, Susquehanna County.
Yes, exactly. We were very proud of it, and a lot of the grants we had helped provide technical assistance, helping getting people to apply for those funds. Those funds helped people buy electric vehicles for their fleets, and then in some cases also helped fund some of the charging infrastructure. So I think our technical assistance and kind of leveraging our existing resources can really help with those federal and state dollars.
Which is huge. I mean, just a quick plug, unintended. We're in the process, we work with your colleague Anna Moyer on the fleet electrification side, and so we're actually breaking ground this week for our yard down on 33rd Street in the Strip, which is super exciting.
We're very excited about that one too.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a big move, and I think like one of the things that you find in that is just all the different parties that need to be involved. From like the strategy and fleet procurement, and then you get the construction team and the site team, and then bringing in all the different parties to make something like this happen. It's not easy.
No.
So kudos to you guys, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Can I ask what kind of vehicles you're getting at the site for the construction?
You can, Rebecca, you can ask. So we
Turn the table.
we used to be on a show together, so like this is old hat for us. So we're using the Ford F-150 Lightnings. So right now we have 2 in our fleet currently, and so a lot of our work in town and with our safety team, they're utilizing the F-150s, which is we're getting a lot of lessons out of it too. So the things like range anxiety are real because we're using them as commuter trucks. So we have guys going from like Connellsville and Kiernan to the airport and things like that. So that's something that we're trying to solve for. And one of the reasons why we wanted to put 33rd Street in was to create that type of central charging experience and buffer opportunity. So we'll have a place to go at all times, which was super helpful. But then, equipment's on the horizon, I think, for us too. So
Cool.
What about at Connect in terms of like these federal resources? What are some of the things that you guys have on your eyes, and then also some of the ideas, some of the programming you're looking to create? So back to the narrative.
Well, the first thing I have to say,
I already heard back and just
well, go for it.
Do it.
The first thing I'd say about Connect is the beauty of it, which is we group governments together in order to make it more competitive for governments to actually be awarded the funding or to funnel this funding to Western Pennsylvania.
And for folks that are new to kind of this conversation, Connect is the city of Pittsburgh and then the 47. Holy cow. It's like McDonald's.
growing.
Millions and millions of municipalities.
People like to work together.
Yeah, so this is good. So 47 municipalities that are now part of Connect, which is awesome. And so that collaboration and that learning the lessons and sharing is really important for Pittsburgh and its surrounding communities.
It sure is, because in Allegheny County, it is one of the most fragmented regions in the entire country. We have 135, something like that, municipalities, all in just this county. Some of them are maybe 1,000 people, less than 1,000 people, up to 30,000 people. So big, small, north, south, all over the place. They exist to deliver services, and sometimes it's not the most efficient to do that on their own. And so it is also not efficient to try to go for this big federal grant on their own. It's very difficult. And so grouping them together is what we do best, and we bring more money in that way. So, yeah.
Is there a specific program that you guys are shooting after? And the title of your program is called Electrify Allegheny, correct? But what are is there federal pots that you're targeting and going after, or is it just in general?
We're going after a CFI grant right now. It's charging and fueling infrastructure.
Okay.
So we've grouped the Electrify Allegheny municipalities, so there's about 15 of them.
Okay.
The county also has some sites that they would like to put EV chargers on, and the city and the city's parking authority and the airport authority also.
Nice.
Is going to put it at the county airport. So like Jess said, we're going to leverage Duquesne Light's Make Ready infrastructure offering, which is for anybody that's put in EV chargers before, that is the hardest part for sure to manage on your own. And then we're looking to offer a turnkey solution for at least the Electrify Allegheny municipalities. So like Eric said, it's 1,000 people, but there's also sometimes just like a part-time manager that works there, a staff of one half. So how can we make, turnkey solutions so that they can sign, couple MOUs or site access agreements and allow us to, help them with project management and, installations in that way. So we're looking to put 4 level 2 chargers at each site, and we're shooting for about 200 plugs throughout Allegheny County, also in Beaver Falls. Hopefully we're successful.
That'd be awesome. When's the grant due?
The 28th.
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Crunch time.
Oh, you got plenty of time.
So if anybody from the DOT or the FHWA
is listening in, like you have a friend in
intentional
Pittsburgh.
plug here.
Yeah. Rick, what have you seen? We were talking a little bit offline. Back in the Obama administration days was the first kind of, not the first, but one of the big kind of pushes in terms of alternative fuels. Talk to me about the difference between then versus then, in terms of scale and creativity. And
Yeah, well, that was back in about the 2005 era, right? And there was an awful lot of money there, but now there's like 30 times what that was. Wow. So that's, almost weekly we're seeing funding opportunity announcements come out for all different types of alternative fuels and electric grants and helping communities, and every agency. So they're looking at EEJ areas, rural areas that are underserved. So there's a lot of grants that we're on right now. In fact, we're expanding ours as well, right? We're going to be hiring a person in the Erie and State College to cover more of Western Pennsylvania, as we cover 33 counties. So that gives us boots on the ground to listen to stakeholders, to listen to municipalities, and know what their needs are, the community organizations, and see what they need there. And then, and again, so as we hear that, then we can turn around and help, just like Connect does here in Allegheny County. We can help those folks. Maybe lead the funding, give them examples, let them talk to folks who are already doing it, who have walked the walk. And now we can turn around and do that. So I think that, along with some grants that we have for with the state, with Plug-in America and testing. One of the big things that's been going on around the country is a number of chargers that aren't operating correctly or aren't operating at all. And the state got a lot of money. The state got $5 million to fix that. But so those are things that these clean cities and communities coalitions can help get out to those things and make sure that they are working, and we can relay that data.
Give us a little bit of an update. I think you from the technical standpoint, you from the experience standpoint, how are we doing with the corridor charging? So like the NEVI program, the National Electric Vehicle Initiative, was one of the major pushes to get that ball rolling. And I'm thinking immediately of the Pittsburgh region with some gaps that still exist, like Pittsburgh, the 79 corridor, like Pittsburgh to Morgantown, Pittsburgh to Erie, Pittsburgh to Columbus. The turnpike's pretty solid, I think, but like some of those other travel paths, like how are we doing there, and what do we have to look forward to?
We're on 1B, right? We're on our third one, and working with the state on that. I think we've covered having those 4 150 kilowatt chargers every 50 miles, probably after this there now, getting those in there. But then what's really good about that is, you have those corridors, but now some of that money, once that's built out, the remainder of that money can be used in community organizations, what we call wheel and spoke, when we try to work different things. So just talking 79 North, I mean, right now we've got
I'm picking on that because I got to go up to
No, but I mean, just really right north of Neville Island, right, they're putting one in. Sheets is putting one in. Slippery Rock, Loves is putting one at the new Slippery Rock right up above.
Okay, that's good.
Is a Tesla unit at the shops there. They're converting that over so it can be used for all types of charging. And then going north, there is that gap, right?
Yep.
We actually have Giant Eagle putting one in at Meadville. At one time, we talked a little bit about Edinburgh. At one time, there was a grant out there that never went through that was supposed to be put in a station there with one of the cooperative electric up there at the Edinburgh exit. But we have them in Erie, so that way there, 80 turnpike we're still working on, right? I mean, there are hit and misses there, but that. I think that's coming. Breezewood, which is really, really critical, I think. As I talk to folks where they say, where do you think you need charging? Breezewood is a great intersection there, not only for vehicles and cars, but trucks, right? How many trucks sit there and have to idle or have to sit there and do that? This is great for all electric type vehicles.
What do you see as just your travel experience?
Driver.
Yeah, as a driver.
It's definitely getting better. So I think the range anxiety has gotten a lot better. So there's still like some hiccups, right? Like a bunch of car dealerships have put them in now, and you can go drive up to a car dealership on off hours and just use it. But the costs don't really match, right? So if you end up desperate on the middle of 22 somewhere, you could end up spending a lot of money and sitting for a long time waiting for a charge. But yeah, definitely, as a last resort, there's a lot more chargers out there. They seem to be online more often, although there's still, some that are down and in maintenance, like you were talking about. I think the payments have gotten better also.
Payment systems.
Yeah, at first it was a lot of like, you have to give your email address, you have to have a card, but they've gotten a lot better, I think, just for
payments.
What
do you see, Jess, from an infrastructure standpoint in that regard? Like, really in terms of like the corridor, pick up on the corridor first, but also in terms of like neighborhood charging.
Sure.
Like what's that frontier look like? Is there going to be more level 3 into some fast charging, or is it just level 2, or what's kind of Duquesne have out of your sites?
That's a good question. So right now we have a little over 600 public charging ports in the Duquesne Light territory. So, Allegheny and Beaver County. We know we need a lot more to anticipate the growth of EVs just to support that demand. I think we see our role as more of that neighborhood charging, both in like destination charging, neighborhoods. So we're really focused on parking lots or right-of-way charging. So and what we mean by right-of-way charging is that, the charging station is along the curb line, and you can parallel park, charge a car, just like you were gonna, pay for, the parking meter. You would have access to charging stations. So we're focused on that. But really in that level 2 space. I think the level 3s is hard thing to tackle. We really see that as more of a corridor strategy, simply because of the cost to install those, the cost to operate them. We're very cognizant of, someone has to pay their electricity bills, right, for the amount of usage that those stations use. And so, it's more expensive for the host organization, but it's also more expensive for the user too, right? And then we're also figuring out, that for level 3s, can be more challenging on your battery and the life of your battery. So when we think about like neighborhood charging, I think that's why we're really focused on that level 2. It's the most economical. Or, I'll be really interested to see, how level 1 charging starts to become more accessible as well. I think at home, even at like apartment buildings, sometimes when you're thinking about like how to electrify parking spaces at apartment garages, it might be a level 1 option is the best option. It's more affordable and just easier access as well. So, I think when adopting new technologies, a lot of times we're of the mindset that faster is better. And to help alleviate some like the range anxiety and things like that. But I think as we get more comfortable with range anxiety and things like that, I think we're going to start to see that those lower charging speeds can actually accommodate like the vast majority. 90% of your trips can be on a level 1 or level 2.
I think that's like one of the biggest lessons, like as an EV driver, is that you don't need a DC fast charging experience. That like I do most of my charging was at home on a 110 line.
Yeah, right.
And to go from like my neighborhood to work and factor in all my trips, so it doesn't. Now, like if you're doing like a long distance trip or something, that's a little bit different question.
Right.
But like. I'd be interested, Eric, from like a municipality standpoint. What are some of the things that like municipal leaders are coming to you guys with? Like, what are some of the questions you're asking?
The same thing where they're saying a lot of these sites are places where folks would be okay with leaving their cars overnight to charge, and so therefore, need for instant fast charger. They're looking at pricing. They're looking at who pays the bill. To Jess's point, how expensive that is. And then one of the concerns that they've had is what spots do this take away? So if this is already in parking lots or in business districts, what businesses are going to have to worry about their spots being taken by drivers that are, maybe not always in that community? So those are some of the things, but all of them really see this as the future, I think.
So it's just how do they adapt to it?
It's how do they adapt to it, and also I think the biggest thing is they do see it as a public amenity, just like all the other services that they provide, regardless of whether the government necessarily agrees with it or not. There are EV drivers, and they need a place to charge, and that's the government.
It's interesting. I'm thinking about the location you guys did out in Oakmont. Like there's a little parking lot out off of Allegheny River Boulevard, and there's like 3 or 4 level 2 chargers. You're like, well, this is great. But like, it's funny to me that this is my question is coming in a second. It's funny to me that municipal leaders, maybe not funny. It's interesting that municipal leaders get this. Hotels or destination locations aren't at the same level. Like the idea that you could go to the hotel in an overnight baffles me. That to me, that's like we have cable, we have internet of like 20, 30 years ago. It's like we have EV charging, right? And are you seeing that? Am I missing something, or are they still behind the curve?
I think it's interesting. I think we really are seeing municipalities take a lead on this and be the early adopters. I do think, you mentioned hotels, but also, we really focus on like workplace charging too. And so trying to talk to building owners that this is an amenity, just like we were talking about amenities, right? Cable, things like that, that should be on the list of amenities that you provide tenants, right? And, I think we're still in this transition post, kind of like coming back to work after the pandemic. So some of our occupancies aren't as high in office buildings as we would like, but trying to draw people back to the office, I feel like charging could be one of those amenities that helps kind of ease some of those transitions. Yeah. So I do think it's a harder sector for us to break into, but I do think, it's much needed in that sector.
Just a couple final questions for you guys. One of the other things, we started out with this a little bit with the fleet heavy equipment side of it. I'd be interested to see, again, asking for a friend, what you see on the horizon or in terms of equipment that is becoming available, maybe something like that for Rick, but then also same thing with local governments. Are they seeing this not just from a vehicle standpoint, but are they also seeing with street sweepers, refuse trucks, excavators, earth movers? Like, what's that next frontier look like? And I'd be interested in all of your insights. Maybe to start with Rick.
Yeah, well, we're actually on a project with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation on demonstrating some off-road construction equipment. So, it's an education about those. So, what's our targeted audience there, right? It could be construction companies, it could be municipalities, private contractors. You just don't know. But they're starting to come up now. It seems like California's getting a lot of that equipment to start off with there because of their CARB standard and that. But I think that you're going to start seeing it everywhere. But again, we get into those being able to charge that on the site. And today they bring out petroleum-based fuel to the site. Refill the equipment in that. We're going to need something like that from the electric side. Yeah. And again, so you're going to be reducing carbon, greenhouse gases by running an electric. So I think it's a matter of, it's just like the electric vehicle, right? Some people wait and let everybody, the forward people to go
wait till the
try
water warms up a little.
Yeah, let them try it, and then being able to talk, right? Talking to fleet managers, talking to owners who are already using that, and then they'll start dipping their toe in the water, and then once that comes, they got to understand you got to have that infrastructure to meet that, right?
What are you seeing there?
Just within, I feel like I've been shocked personally. Just within the past, I think, year, there's been a couple of awards to municipalities that they replaced their street sweepers that covers multiple municipalities, totally electric. Garbage trucks. Yep. It's seemed a little easier than I would have expected. They seem to find these grants and then they go, oh, well, we got an old one, let's replace it.
Let's do it, yeah.
Yeah. But to Rick's point, I think one of the things is that the charging infrastructure isn't always coupled with that grant. And so then sometimes we see them trying to either get the charging first or the trunk, and then trying to pair those things together has been a little bit challenging. I remember a conversation with a municipality where they didn't even know that like an electric skid loader existed. And they were all like, oh, that's really cool. And they're like, oh, let's put that into the fleet analysis that we're doing for you. And so they're really open to it. I think that they see that there's less maintenance, right? There are less fuel costs.
Yep.
It is a learning curve though. It's not something they're used to, but they're very open to it. So it's been fun.
It's interesting, just to see the experimentation that starts to go on. Just last week we created our first off-grid net zero construction trailer. So, and it was basically, you know, the guys in our safety team and our demo unit, you know, out of need, and they started to tinker and have, you know, 2 100 amp solar panels on the trailer, purchased a battery on Amazon, took the total operation off grid. And so like that thought process, you know, it starts to work its way into the system, and then people start getting creative. I mean, that's the fun thing to see.
People talking to each other too. That has like been the biggest thing. But we have really tried hard to, at every opportunity, to let other municipalities know that these other municipalities have already replaced these vehicles, have already put chargers in. We took them on a school bus. Was that last year for Drive Electric Week, I think?
Yeah.
We took them on an electric school bus, thanks to PRCC, to take them around, give them a tour of other municipalities that have put in charging equipment and replaced fleet vehicles, and they all really enjoyed that. So they like to, what was the term? Get their butts in the seat.
Butts in
Yeah,
seat.
pretty much.
Just in the last couple minutes, you know, Rebecca, you've been at the forefront of this. What are some of those, like, you know, 2 or 3 quick, like, lessons that you would share to folks in terms of the implementation of hurdles that you have to get over?
Wow.
Like big lessons learned.
I mean, I guess thinking about use case is really important. Knowing what the, you know, drive for the garbage trucks is going to be to the, you know, end site and back, and trying to route things appropriately. But you know, I think this isn't what you asked, but I'm excited about garbage trucks and street sweepers, because especially in this area, you know, air quality is a really important frame, and those are the vehicles that sit and idle in communities all day long. They hit every single house. You know, we had looked at bucket trucks, because they have a long, you know, they'll idle for 8 hours a day in a community, you know, working on trees. But you know, if you can electrify that, then it's not diesel emissions.
Right.
Another thing I'm also really excited about is the county health department put out their clean air funds, and outlined specifically the small, you know, yard and lawn equipment.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Which
also
is super
really
accessible.
exciting. Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, just thinking about what is the use case and getting everybody really comfortable. It's the same with like range anxiety, right? Like even for anybody holding a, you know, chainsaw. Is the battery going to run out, and do you have an extra battery on hand? You know, thinking through all of those potential cases, you know, and scenarios is important.
I have a good stat that I can put in the back of my mind.
Nice.
But for Rebecca, because when we look at the medium and heavy duty, we've been looking at this a lot just in our own like planning. But when you look at greenhouse gas emissions for just the transportation sector, like the medium and heavy duty vehicles, they're only like 5% of the overall vehicles on the road, but they produce 20% of those greenhouse gas emissions just for the transportation sector. So if we can tackle that, you know, we could have a big effect on greenhouse gas emissions and air quality for our communities.
And cost.
And
That's the thing. That is the biggest lesson, is that carbon equals cost, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at those greenhouse gas numbers and we think about like what the fueling cost is, the oil and everything, it's a huge cost savings for everyone.
I have one more thing.
You got
should
the
have
final
said.
word.
Yeah. So working
always.
with the utility is so important.
Look at that layout.
The utility part, like, yeah. So I mean, I've been working on this for a few years, and the evolution of Duquesne Light's team, that's now 6 or 7 people, has been unbelievable, and having that technical support just makes these projects way easier.
That is the truth, and that's a great place to end the conversation. Great words of advice by everybody. Jess, Rebecca, Eric, Rick, thanks so much for the work that you guys do, and thanks for joining us on the Green Voice, and thank you for listening in. So go check out Drive Electric Week. You get an opportunity, find an event near you, and make sure you get your butt in a seat. And that's the lesson that we learned here today. Thanks so much. I'm Grant Ervin with S&B USA. Thanks for listening in, and we'll check you on the next episode. See you later.